So, for an American perspective on all of this, we have reached Glenn Hammer. He is the president and CEO of the Texas Association of Business. Good morning to you, Glenn.
Good morning.
Thank you for taking the time with us. First off, your reaction to hearing the news about Donald Trump's tariffs being imposed tomorrow and the counter tariffs that Canada has said it's going to impose.
Well, I'm going to first start by saying we believe CUSMA, which we call the US-Mexico-Canada Agreement in the United States, which was negotiated by the first Trump administration, is the best trade deal ever negotiated in the United States. It's brought unbelievable prosperity to the United States and particularly to Texas. And let me just say, I heard a few moments ago that you said that President Trump and Prime Minister Trudeau have connected. We believe that's positive. We want to keep North America tariff-free.
If CUSMA is such a great deal, or the USMCA is such a great deal, why does Trump want to tear it up?
Well, he's mentioned two areas: illegal migration into the United States and deadly fentanyl that has killed 60, 70,000 Americans a year and has also wrecked so many lives in Canada. We believe that those are worthwhile goals to talk about and to address in terms of addressing them with Canada and Mexico. But we believe we can address those in a productive way while keeping the world's most prosperous, successful trading bloc intact. So just to be clear, we do not want to see the tariffs imposed, and we're hopeful that cooler heads will prevail and we'll work on these very important issues that President Trump has outlined, but in a way where we can continue to build all the prosperity that our three countries have enjoyed under the U.S.-Mexico-Canada trade agreement.
Glenn, here in Canada, Trump's assertion that there are somehow illegal migrants and fentanyl pouring across the border from Canada into the United States, nobody is taking that seriously. No one is saying that's happening. There's been no evidence provided for any of that. And even if it were happening, would it not be the job of the United States Border Security to keep it out of the United States?
Well, I just want to say that it does appear that Canada is doing a lot to try to keep illegal migrants and illicit drugs out of the United States. And I also just want to say we appreciate that over the years, Canada has been such a great ally of the United States. It's been, I would argue, the closest relationship the United States has had. So we want to build on that. And I'll just say, I mean, you take a look at every major business group that I'm aware of in the United States, and every major business group basically has the same message. We want to work with the Trump administration on the areas he's identified, but we want to do it in a way that maintains the tariff-free nature of trade between the United States, Mexico, and Canada. It has clearly been an economic win for the United States, and when that's disrupted, we could already see from what's happening in the markets don't like it. So we've got to figure out a resolution and get back to regular programming because for the United States, it's important. We need a strong Canada and Mexico to effectively compete economically with China and other blocs in the world.
Texas has a strong automotive manufacturing sector, as do parts of Canada, the province of Ontario in particular. But you need raw materials from Canada, things like, aluminum from Quebec. What would this mean for the auto sector in Texas?
Yeah, we're very concerned about what this would do to supply chains. These supply chains are so integrated between the United States, Mexico, and Canada. And so many parts go back and forth 5 or 6 or 7 times. And it's just not economically feasible to have a competitive car industry in the United States if we're tariffing the heck out of auto parts that are whizzing in and out of our country. And then there's the cost to American consumers. I love Canadian cherry tomatoes. They're the best. And I'll be honest, I like Canadian maple syrup a lot as well. We'll pay more for that. That's going to hit consumers. And we know that on the energy side, we love Canadian energy. It has reduced the costs for a lot of Americans, and that has helped make us a more competitive country when it comes to manufacturing.
Isn't half of what is refined in the United States oil that comes from Canada?
I believe that's correct. And what does that mean? It means lower fuel costs for small businesses and consumers. So, we're going to do everything possible so that these tariffs don't go into effect. If they do go into effect, We want to see them removed as quickly as possible. And we would just urge all three countries to work together. When we work together on tough issues like illegal migration, like illicit drugs, all three countries are safer and stronger. But it's incredibly important to make sure that we maintain the momentum that we've enjoyed because of the US-Mexico-Canada agreement that has made our part of the world the best place on the planet to live.
Isn't that exactly what we were doing up until the moment Donald Trump was reelected?
Well, the president was reelected on a number of different issues, and it's fair to say border security and keeping illicit drugs out of the country were two important issues. And President Trump does like to use tariffs in a way that we haven't seen historically in the United States.
Do you seriously, I don't mean to interrupt, Glenn, but do you seriously
Yeah.
think that the movement of illicit drugs across the Canada-US border has anything at all to do with the tariffs that Donald Trump has imposed? Do you think those tariffs would go away tomorrow if Canada could guarantee that not a speck of fentanyl was going to make it across the border?
Well, it would certainly, obviously, it's been identified as an issue, so
By the president.
Yeah, I'm sorry, by President Trump. So
Right, but is it actually an issue? We know that President Trump sometimes says things that aren't true.
Well, I believe he is the problem of fentanyl in the United States is an extraordinarily severe one.
As it is here in Canada, yes.
Yeah, so we all, my point is we all have a mutual interest to reduce illegal migration and to reduce fentanyl. And I understand the statistics in terms of what is happening on the ground. And I appreciate it because from everything that I'm aware of, Canada has been taking all of these concerns by President Trump seriously.
Yes.
And that's appreciated. And that's what friends do. These are issues identified by President Trump. Canada is responding. And our hope is as we work on these issues, we can find ways to do more in terms of trade and to be more competitive with the rest of the world. I mean, our supply chains, you mentioned auto manufacturing, our supply chains have made us so much more competitive with China and the rest of the world. So we want more of that integration, not less. And I believe it's fair to say that every major business trader group in the United States, Canada, and Mexico feels the same way. We're simply stronger together, and we're going to keep making that point that we're economically more prosperous in the United States if we have this continued free trade agreement with Canada and Mexico. As we work on some of these issues that have been identified by President Trump.
You know, it wasn't so long ago that during a hockey game, there was an American singing the national anthem, as they often do here in Canada, and the microphone cut out, and the Canadian crowd in the arena finished the Star-Spangled Banner, because that's how many Canadians know the words to the Star-Spangled Banner. Last night, there was a hockey game, and when the American national anthem was played, the crowd booed over it. How worried are you about Canada-U.S. relations overall?
Our relationship is so deep that I am 100% positive we will get back into a point where we are joyfully listening to each other's anthems. I went to school in upstate New York and watched a lot of hockey games, and the crowd always responded very enthusiastically, obviously to the Star-Spangled Banner, but also to O Canada. And I'm convinced that we'll get back to that point very, very rapidly.
And does your organization support Donald Trump?
Well, we certainly have supported many of President Trump's policies. We are strong supporters of the 2017 Tax Cut and Jobs Act, which we believe is the best tax bill ever enacted. We were strong supporters of the U.S.-Mexico-Canada agreement. We love the deregulatory agenda. DOGE is absolutely necessary. We have a bureaucracy on the federal side that causes a lot of problems for small businesses in terms of overregulation. We like the fact that this is a president that understands energy and wants to see a lot more of it produced in the United States. Let's remember the last administration was very hostile to Texas energy. So this is a president where you have a lot of enthusiasm in the business community, but we do not want to see tariffs. And we're going to do everything possible to deal with some of these other issues identified so we could get back to tariff-free North America trade that has made our region and the United States the strongest in the world.
Glenn, so good to hear you this morning. Thank you for taking the time with us. We really appreciate it.
I appreciate the chance to chat as well. Thank you.
You take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. That's Glenn Hammer, President and CEO of the Texas Association of Business.